Hey, hi, this is Vivek, and in this particular video, we're going to be talking about a really nice application idea, which is very common in Burnside Lemma, which is using necklaces. And this is going to be like fourth part of this whole series. If you could make up to this particular point after watching all the three, kudos to you. I mean, really, if you had kind of persisted through the last one and could have actually understand how it came up, it's really interesting to know you. Kind of comment below just that you have kind of watched this particular video. I would know that there are some people who are actually interested in these kind of contents, and do like and subscribe to this channel. If you have not watched the previous videos, please do watch them before understanding this particular video, obviously. And in this particular video, we're gonna be taking up this famous counting necklaces problem, which is also on CACS. You can take this particular problem from there, and I'm going to add all the problems links in the description, all the things that you need for this whole series in the description, so don't worry about that. So in this particular problem, you're given a necklace which contains of n pearls, and you have m possible colors. You have to color it so that it's not possible to rotate one of them to look the same as other. So if basically you have red, red, green, okay, and this is a necklace, let's say, and then if you have a green, red, red, so obviously you can rotate this to kind of look same as this one, right? So these two are not different. So we have to find out the number of different colorings of the necklace so that no two can be rotated to into the other. Okay. So the constraints for n and m are up to 10 to the power 6. Okay, that's important. Modulo is up to 10 to the power 9 plus 7. So it's a prime modulo. I need to find this out. So what are we looking at? There's this necklace which kind of contains some number of beads, n number of beads, and we have m colors, right? And we have to find it out. So obviously for this kind of a structure, we have to use the same methods that we have done in Burnside Lemma. And if you want to try, you can actually pause this video right over here and try to solve this problem. But I will go ahead and tell you the solution for this directly. We have this single axis of rotation in this problem. Since this is a bead, you can rotate it cyclically in the cylinder itself across the along this center of this whole circle, and then rotate it by one bead, two bead, three bead, and so on up till n minus 1 bead, right? So it's altogether like the same problem with number of beads being like how many beads you rotated by, so that it comes up to the same kind of a structure, right? So that's the thing. So let's say if there is this 6 particular structure, so if we rotate this whole diagram by 2 beads, so the first cell kind of goes to this one, and then it goes to this one, and then it's come back, right? This goes to this one, and this goes to this one. So there are, and then it comes back. So there are this one cycle over here, and then one cycle over here. So there are two different cycle. If I paint this cell and this cell, you can see that this kind of fixes this color, this kind of fixes this color, this fixes this color, this fixes this color, right? So you have to sort of just fix two colors. So for, let's say there is n equal to 6, and we rotate the grid by 2. The operation is, let's say we say x of 2 as the rotation by 2 beads. So if we rotate it by 2 beads for x2, the number of colors that you have to decide is two different nodes. So for them, it's going to be m colors for each one of them. So m square, right? So let's think about x3. Let's say for if you rotate it by 3, if we have, let's say 6 beads, and let's say we want to rotate it by 6. So let's say there is this kind of a structure, right? 6 means 3 means you rotate it to this and then it comes back, right? Similarly for this to this and then come back, this to this and then it's come back. So there are 3 different beads that you can decide, and then it's going to be m cube, right? x3. So the thing is, now what we need to find is, if there is an n sized bead, okay, how many chains does exist in that particular bead chain for x of I, right? What we're interested in is x of i's formula, like m to the power something over here. What is that particular stuff? Okay, and let's say there is a general n bead, right? So this is what we need to find, that how many chains, how many cycles will be there, how many chains would be there that would be formed if you just move I steps from each one of them going forward, and you can kind of rotate across the whole bead. How many different chains would be formed? So this is the actual main problem that you have to solve in this kind of a problem, and it turns out that answer for this is really interesting, which is GCD of I comma x, I comma n. Okay, why is this so? Let's try and understand what happens in this particular thing. So this, if you kind of rotate it till this much, then this much, then this much, then you go till, let's say third step like this, and so on. So from this one you go to ith next step, then ith next step. So from any particular position, let's say you are at y, right, you can do plus I times any number. Let's say a, you can do it a number of times, you can add I to it a number of times, any number of times I can add it to. Okay, so you can do this, right? Also, since like you can cycle back across the same position, right, I can subtract n from it any number of times, b number of times altogether, right? I like from a particular position y, I can go forward I by any number of times, and whenever I like, if it's not sufficient enough, I can always go to this particular position and then subtract n, which means like kind of revert back whole of the necklace. So I can subtract this off any number of times, right? And this is like any particular cell that I can reach off, right? Any particular cell that kind of that has a suitable a comma b, I can reach off to. Okay, like let's say b has to be bigger than, there are few more constraints, but let's say if a is suitably high, then we can do this. Or let's say what we want to do is this, that y plus this mod n should satisfy this, right? So remainder is this, so we can write it as y plus I into a. So the remainder is z, so there is going to be some q times let's say n plus z, right? Some quotient times n plus z. The remainder is this. So from there only, like you can shift it back to this side and you can say that, okay, forget about these stuff, I can subtract some b number of times n to get z, right? Now from this particular cell, what is the smallest index, next smallest index that I can reach by using this process? Okay, let's try to find that out. So what we need to do is we need to find out the minimum value of z minus y, because z is the next position where we reach and y is the previous position where we were. So we want to find out the smallest value of this particular, if you go to this expression, I into a minus b times n is equal to z minus y. We want to find the, let's say, let's rename this z as some c, constant c. We want to get the smallest value of this c. And if you notice this side, it's like a times some x plus b times some y, okay, equal to some constant c. Okay, and if you remember this expression, this is mostly the Diophantine equation, which I hope you guys know about. If you not, please just look up what is Diophantine equation. I will give a link in the description. But this is only solvable when c is like when GCD of, let's say, a comma b divides c, right? And the such smallest such c that is possible for in this case, which is non-zero, is going to be equal to GCD of a comma b. And a comma b in this case like is going to be equal to, like a in this case is x and b in this case is y. So x and y can vary, so a and b in this case can vary, and I and n in this case is like the constants. So I is a, n is b. So the GCD of a comma b is going to be GCD of I comma n. So that's the number of let's say, that's the smallest number, that's the smallest step that you can take forward after any number of rotations and some I moves in forward. So some yth cell is going to be same as the y plus GCD of I comma n cell. Okay, it's going to be same to that. So now we can kind of see any particular chain in this way. Like we have this, let's say, this particular chain. Okay, and we know that from the first one, okay, it's same as the, let's say this is, let's say, zeroth cell. So or let's say the first one. So then 1 plus GCD of I, which whatever is the rotation right now, comma n is going to be same as this, and so on for each one of them. For others also it is going to be same to the next one, this is going to be same to the next one, and so on. So we basically have this 1 to, this is 1 plus GCD of I comma n, so this is nothing but GCD of I comma n, right? So from 1 to GCD of I comma n, they are all independent and they are all the starters of some sort of chain. Like they start off some sort of chain and then that goes around the whole cycle. So the total number of independent fixed elements that are there in this, for this particular ith xi group element, is going to be equal to GCD of I comma n. So those are the first few elements that you have to choose, and then for each one of them you have m color choices. So m to the power GCD of I comma n, and that's the number of like coloring options for x of I group ID group element. So if we now go back and try to find out, okay, what would be the final answer? So we found out that for x of I, it's going to be m to the power GCD of I comma n, right? I comma n. That's the formula for x of I. And now we know that the accesses that are possible is identity element, which is same as x0 in this case. We can also have x1, x2 till x of n minus 1. We can rotate it till n minus 1 grids and so on. N minus 1 beads and the same necklace would pop up. So these are the different rotations across the central axis. And for each one of them, you have basically m to the power GCD of I comma n. So if we have to sum them up, right? So the numerator is summation of m to the power GCD of I comma n. And the denominator is there are n such like group elements. For the central axis itself, there is only one axis, so it's going to be n. So this is going to be the final answer for this particular problem, which you have to calculate. And now if you look at the constraints that are there in the problem, m is up to 10 to the power 6, which is fine. N is up to 10 to the power 6, I is equal to 0 to n minus 1. I is up to 10 to the power 6, n to the power 6, this is also 10 to the power 6. So it's all fine, like there are 10 to the power 6 terms into this thing. 10 to the power 6 term. You can loop over, find a GCD, and then take it with n divided by n, and that should be pretty easy to calculate. But this is the main formula that you have to derive to if you want to solve this problem. So that's there for this particular problem's main solution, CACS main solution, if you have n comma m up to 10 to the power 6. But I want to go ahead and try to give you one more like derivation that comes off from this particular formula, which can be used even for harder problems. Is we have this term which is summation of m to the power GCD of I comma n. This is what we have to calculate and then divided by n, right? This is what is the term. Now focus on this numerator. Let's say s is equal to summation of m to the power GCD of I comma n, right? This is the term, and I is equal to 0 to n, n minus 1. In case you are wondering what will happen at I equal to 0, 0 comma n has a GCD of n. We will assume that, okay? And now let's say we have this particular formula. We have to compute this faster than, let's say, O of n, if you want to do that. Okay, how to do that? So this GCD cannot really take any different value, right? Like GCD has to be a divisor of n. So let's try to convert this into summation of d divides n for all different divisors. How to calculate this particular number? So let's say the GCD of I comma n is equal to d. Okay, so if it is equal to d, for that particular d, the formula is going to be m to the power d, right? But how many such i's are there such that GCD of I comma n is equal to d? Is going to be equivalent to saying GCD of I by d, okay, comma n by d is equal to 1, right? And let's call this some new term. Let's forget about this I by d. Let's call this a new variable x. Okay, the number of x such that it taken GCD with n by d is equal to 1. It's nothing but the number of different numbers that are there which are less than n by d. Obviously I is less than n, so I by d is also less than n by d is altogether. And the numbers that give GCD equal to 1, which is nothing but number of numbers co-prime to this number less than equal to that number, which is nothing but totient of n by d. So we can multiply it with totient of n by d. Okay, and this is another equivalent formula for this one. And now you can see that d loops over the number of divisors of the n, and that can be done in order root n kind of structure. Okay, and if you have to calculate the totient, so these are going to be all divisors of n, so you can kind of enumerate over them in an efficient way, and you can keep the factors already pre-built. There are only few prime factors that are going to be there, so you can evaluate the prime factors really fast for this number, so you don't really have to like use a root n formula for this one. So in that case, you can actually do it in I can do it much faster, but you can actually do it in order log n for sure, right? So altogether you can actually solve it in order root n log n if you want to. In case you are worried about this last part, it's basically nothing but, let's say you know a particular d, so n by d is also going to have the same primes as prime factors as n, so you can pre-save the prime factors and just calculate the factorization of this. And we know that always totient of some number n, which is p1 to the power a1, p2 to the power a2. Okay, if you calculate the totient of this, it's nothing but there is a standard formula. It's going to be equal to n into 1 minus 1 by p1 and so on. 1 minus 1 by p2 and so on. So if you know the primes that are going to be there, you can evaluate the powers very fast. There are only going to be log n such terms. You can calculate that very fast, and then you can compute this quotient in order log n itself, right? So that can be done because n is fixed for this problem. So you can do it in order root n log n also if you want to. So that's an optimization that is sometimes required in harder problems of this question. And that's almost all that you need for this particular problem. So this is a very interesting problem, very common one, necklace given, and you have to rotate it into like you have a rotational symmetry, which means like elements that are rotated to the same element are counted only once. Find the number of such necklace, and the solution for that is this formula over here. The main formula is this over here, right? And we can replace the numerator, this particular part, with this also, and then divide it by n. Like obviously answer is going to be divided by n, but this is way faster, and you can calculate it in root n log n if you want to. So that's, I guess, all about this particular problem that you can know about. Obviously you have to calculate all this stuff with modulo, but that is obviously possible for the given modulo being prime, right? So that's all for this particular problem. I hope this was pretty interesting to know about. In the next problem, we're going to take one problem which came up related to this problem, but it was actually a bit more tougher. So in case you wanted to just learn about Burnside Lemma and you wanted to just kind of know just some standard stuff, so this is almost what you need to know about Burnside Lemma. And then now you can move into practicing problems. I will link the links. I will link important links in the description, and you can check them out. But the next problem is going to be a tougher one. It was actually a decider problem for, let's say, a regional of an Indian regional for ICPC, and that actually requires a bit of polynomial stuff with let's say this necklace problem. So we're going to talk about that as well, because that's a hard problem, and like if this is this channel, then we cannot really leave out the hard problems, right? So we should definitely talk about them. So let's move into the last problem of this whole series, which is going to be like a advanced variation of this particular problem, but again a very interesting one. So let's talk about that. And also, before I leave out, thanks for making out to this particular point. I guess if you could sustain till this point, then you deserve learning all of these stuff, and you're actually making really good progress in CP. And do solve the problems that are there in the practice, okay? And also, obviously, since you got some value, like the video, that motivates me, and subscribe the channel, because that you'd be getting notifications for more such awesome content. Okay, I'm saying my own content as awesome. That should not be there, but I hope this is something which provided some value. Okay, so see you in the next video. Bye bye.